Hey, good morning, everybody. This is Amanda Waters, Carlsbad High School, with my big buddy Ira over here, looking all snazzy.
Ira Childress, Gulliver Prep, Miami. We have a very special guest today, someone that's an experienced administrator, a good friend of mine, and a mentor of mine. Someone when I started out early in my career was always there and very helpful, and one of the top administrators to me in the country. And we're very pleased to welcome Glen Terry of the NCAA. He's one of the administrators at the NCAA Eligibility Center, and Glen's going to come on and share a few words with us this afternoon and take a few questions. So Glen, first of all, welcome. And next, if you would talk about a little bit about yourself and the Eligibility Center and what you guys do there.
Absolutely. Ira, thank you for having me. Amanda, good afternoon, and good afternoon, everyone. My name is Glen Terry. I'm with the NCAA Eligibility Center. I am the Director of Outreach and Strategic Partnerships. What we do is we're responsible for seeing to it that all 8 million high school student athletes that want to compete in Division I and Division II in the NCAA know what they need to know about the academic and the amateur requirements needed to compete. There are academic standards that they have to meet from their freshman year through their senior year, along with test scores and a GPA that they must achieve to be able to receive that scholarship, practice, and compete at the Division I or Division II level.
Glen, can you talk about, before we get into the specific questions, but just, with the whole COVID-19, can you kind of talk about that situation and how it's impacted obviously all of us and high school students throughout the country, and also your office?
Thank you. Sure. COVID-19 actually caused the NCAA National Office to go to a remote working environment March 13th. So we've all been working from home, still trying to do the work of college administrators across the country and servicing our colleges and universities, as well as the high school community and the students and parents that want to know what they need to know as they transition their students from high school to college. COVID-19 has really taken the educational side to a virtual environment, to an e-learning environment. So we've had to adjust some of our certification requirements and really take some things and look at some things to make sure that student athletes are still able to meet the academic requirements and still be able to transition from high school to the university of their choice. The SAT and the ACT canceling their exams also took its toll on student athletes who required those tests to meet the academic requirements, not only for their scholarships and for initial eligibility, but for admission to colleges and universities across the country. So we've all had to kind of look at things, and what the NCAA has done is we partnered with our membership, our colleges and universities and our committees and governance structure to try to be student athlete friendly in these times and make sure that we come up with a standard that is reachable and student athlete friendly in this environment.
Glen, thank you. What advice would you give to student athletes right now who are going through this unprecedented time?
The first thing I would say is do the best in the classes that you have. You guys are in an e-learning environment. Continue to do well in those classes. Continue to study hard, get the best grades possible, because just because that they're in an e-learning environment doesn't mean that these aren't going on your transcript. This is the way that you pave your way, A, to admission into the college or university of your choice, but B, to that potential scholarship that you're trying to get. Academic achievement creates opportunity. So do the best that you can in your academics, and it'll increase the opportunities that you may have.
Okay, one other thing that I had, can you talk about the new rules with the COVID-19 and how would they impact the 2020 class and also the 2021 class?
Sure. The COVID-19 rules are really just we've come up with what we call the COVID-19 auto waiver. Basically what's going to happen, and I'm going to try to separate it from a Division I and a Division II perspective. For Division I, we are still going to try to certify student athletes under the 16 core courses, 10 core courses at the start of the 7th semester, with 7 being in English, math, or science, at least a minimum core GPA of 2.3 and an SAT or ACT score that matches their core GPA. If we cannot, we're going to look at what we're calling the COVID-19 auto waiver. And the COVID-19 auto waiver is, if we can't certify a student athlete under our normal circumstances, under our normal academic requirements, we're going to look at the 7th semester and see and measure the student athlete to see if they at least had 10 core courses by the start of the 7th semester, with 7 being in English, math, or science, and at least a 2.3 in those core courses. We did not attach a requirement to the SAT or the ACT, basically because we realized that some student athletes weren't able to take the SAT or the ACT, or they were able to take the SAT or the ACT, but needed to retake it again to try to get a higher score, and weren't able to because of the cancellations that the SAT and the ACT.
Go ahead, Amanda.
I need Mark to mute himself. I will go in and mute him too. Sorry, Glenn.
That's okay. With Division II, what we're going to do is we're still going to try to certify student athletes under the 16 core with a 2.2 GPA and the sliding scale with the SAT and the ACT score. If they're not able to be certified under our normal means and with all of the criteria, we're going to utilize the COVID-19 Division II auto waiver, where they must at least have 10 core courses by the start of the 7th semester with at least a 2.2 core GPA. We also realized that some schools are going to a pass-fail environment. Many schools and districts across the country will be just giving pass grades or pass-fail grades. With those pass grades, instead of applying the lowest passing grade of D, we're actually going to give each student a 2.3 value for those grades that they receive a pass in. Now, if that 2.3 lowers their overall core GPA, we will just apply the courses that have letter grades and give them the credit for those courses that they have received a pass in. If it raises their core GPA, we will utilize the 2.3 value for those core courses.
Thank you.
Hey,
Amanda?
Glenn, question for you on ours. What do you see as long-term effects? What challenges do you see? I mean, I know, Dr. Fauci came out this morning again saying he doesn't know if, sports are going to be happening. I know it's stressful for everybody, the seniors, the juniors, all the athletes, obviously. We have a lot of kids that only really go to school for athletics. And as much as people want to say that, maybe that's not true, it's totally true. So, what is your thought on that? What do you see as long-term effects?
Well, I look at things from a two-pronged approach. These student athletes need an education, and education is the key to their future. The higher the education, we know the more the earning potential. So I want them to get the best education possible. I want them to get, to do everything they can to get that degree. We're going to look at this, we're looking at it right now from a 2020 perspective. For those student athletes that graduate in 2021, 2022, and 2023, we're still going to utilize the pass-fail environment for those courses given when they're ready for final academic certification. As far as moving forward into this next academic year and if we'll hold classes or what that will look like, we're still in the process of talking about all of that. I think all of that is up in the air as we know that this is an ever-changing environment. And what we thought was just going to be, you're home for 2 weeks or 3 weeks or 4 weeks, for some is now turned in, I think this is week 7 for me. So we're now looking at, what's the next piece, and from a collegiate perspective, we have students that are graduating and looking to enroll full time in the fall, and you have those colleges that are saying, well, we're trying to determine if we are going to hold classes virtually or if we are going to allow students on the campus. So I think a lot of our colleges and universities are going to dictate what the new environment is going to look like. And we're going to do everything that we can to not only support our colleges and universities, the student athletes that are incoming and that are already collegiate student athletes, but our high school environment with the high school counselors and athletic directors and these high school student athletes and their parents as they try to negotiate this vast environment.
Have they started any type of collaboration with people to kind of come up with ideas for safety, right? So let's say football. Let's just take football. That's the big one everybody has a question about, especially money-wise, right? NCAA, high schools, everybody. And looking at safety standards for football to allow it to begin, maybe clear face masks or hand washing stations on the sidelines, or is there any type of talk, I'm sure there is, but about how that would look, even if they allowed them to play, what safety standards they would have to follow?
They've started talk. I guarantee you there are talks. I have not been privy to those talks, I'll be honest with you, but I know that those talks are happening, and I think the main thing that we want to do is ensure the safety of not only student athletes, but all students across campus. We're looking at students that are going to be living in dormitories and eating in dining halls and sitting in lecture halls that seat somewhere between 200, 300, and depending on the size of the university, somewhere around 500 students. So when you think about that, and you also think about putting student athletes in a contact sport like football or a sport like soccer or volleyball, you really have to really gauge everything, as far as the campus environment as well as the student athlete environment to make sure that these students are safe all around and not just when they're practicing or competing.
Right.
That makes sense. Glenn, and just real quick, anyone who has any eligibility related questions, please feel free to put them in the chat and we can ask Glenn while we have a few more minutes. But Glenn, what advice would you give us as athletic directors in terms of working with our student athletes, going through this, from an eligibility standpoint? And, as we, right now we're in 2020, but as we know, this could be carrying into 2021 as well. So what advice would you give us for the next year, in terms of being athletic directors, of how to work with our student athletes from an eligibility standpoint through this process?
Well, there are a couple different things. Great question. First thing I would say is, as an athletic director, those freshmen and sophomores that aren't registered, we have a profile page that we allow that is a free of charge account for student athletes to utilize. And at that point, we're sending them information about academics. We're sending them information about time management and study skills and different things like that to ensure that they're receiving timely information, not only as we go through this COVID-19 phase, but throughout their high school career until they decide that they want to register with the Eligibility Center. That's one way that we can continue to get information, and each one can teach one. The second thing that I would say is, as athletic directors, and even if you have school counselors that are listening in, this is a great time, especially as we go into the summer season for those underclassmen, to get ahead on their classwork. If there are classes that they can take in an e-learning environment and try to get ahead, or if there are classes that they did not do well in and have the opportunity to repeat. This provides an excellent time for them to increase their grade point average and really do well in the academics. As I continue to say, academics, the academic achievement really creates the opportunities. And, as a former coach, when I was looking at two sprinters and if they ran the same time and had similar characteristics, the one that I recruited a little bit harder was the one with the higher GPA, because I didn't have to chase them around to go to class. So the better that they do academically, the more opportunities they're going to create.
Good. Amanda?
Yeah, so a couple questions. Roni Efford asked, what are the requirements for Division III? And what could you touch on that just a little bit?
Sure. The Eligibility Center doesn't have Division III requirements. We don't certify student athletes, Division III student athletes, because they don't have athletic scholarship dollars. So the only scholarship dollars that Division III student athletes have are either need-based dollars or academic dollars tied to their academic achievement. So the one thing that I would say about Division III student athletes, they will be eligible as long as they meet the conditions for admission at that respective Division III college or university.
You're muted, Amanda.
Yep, sorry. And then the second one, do you feel like the NCAA Clearinghouse will look at testing scores in the sliding scale for the graduating class of 21 if ACT and SATs are not offered in the fall?
That's a great question. Right now, given the environment that we're in, we are going to look at test scores. We are going to look at GPAs. We are going to look at the entirety of a student athlete's record, unless there are conditions that come about. And we are in the process of continually talking about those conditions, but we don't want to preemptively strike when we don't know what's going to happen in the coming weeks and months. So right now, as we look at the class of 21, 22, and 23, those student athletes will be required to meet the full academic requirements of Division I and Division II.
The last question that I see, so spring athletes obviously were given a 5th year, right? An extra year or a year to redo their last year. I'm sure the conversations about how that affects recruiting and budgets, and obviously I don't know how that works with money going in for freshmen and because you're going to keep their 5th. What do you know about that, and what could you touch on that with us?
I can touch a little bit on that. I know that they've been given their 5th year. I know that they've given universities they've been liberal about extending scholarships for those, not only those continuing student athletes that are on campus, but those incoming student athletes, to make sure that they are able to honor scholarships for incoming student athletes, along with those student athletes that are remaining to continue their eligibility.
Glenn, last question. From an eligibility center standpoint, what are some of the key things that you guys, I know you touched on it a little bit earlier, but if you can go over it one more time, just some of the key things that you guys that we should be telling our student athletes, or our guidance counselor should be telling our student athletes to do right now, especially the 2021 class, if they haven't done it.
2021 class, the first thing I would say is if you have classes that you need to repeat, or classes that you need to improve a grade, the summer provides a great environment to do so. If you took Algebra 1 and didn't do well, you got a D, but you have the time and the ability to repeat that class now, to raise that grade. This is the perfect time to do so. If you haven't registered with the Eligibility Center, please do so. Go to www.eligibilitycenter.org and register. If you are an underclassman, if you're a sophomore or freshman and you're really not certain that you want to compete in Division I or Division II, but you know that you're interested in college athletics, gone ahead and register for a profile page. You can go to eligibilitycenter.org and register for a profile page. It's free. It provides you great information, not only about academics and athletics, about nutrition and time management and injury prevention. It provides you a great wealth of information about what's going on with our college student athletes and what they're dealing with day to day in their daily schedule. So we're trying to give you a taste prior to getting on a college campus of what the college day would be like for you.
Amanda, you have anything else?
No, Glenn, I can't thank you enough for joining us. I know that all of you guys are putting in so much hard work to kind of make this happen and planning and at least the 57,000 scenarios that could happen from this. And I think as ADs, that's kind of the situation that we're in, is we're going to try to do our best with the situation, obviously, that we're given, being as positive as we can. I really appreciate you taking the time to help answer a lot of those questions. And I just really appreciate it, Glenn.
Well, we thank you. You know, we know you guys are right on the front lines with our student athletes and really helping to educate and develop the next generation of NCAA student athletes. So we thank you. We know that these are trying times, and we stand with you to partner. And if there's anything that we can do, I have no problem being a resource. So please don't hesitate to reach out. I'm more than happy to give my email address and pass you along to members of our team, whether they are in your region or just to answer a question. So if that is okay, I'm more than happy to give my email address.
Go ahead, Glenn.
My email address is T as in Tom, ERRY @ncaa.org. Terry, GTERRY @ncaa.org. And my name is Glen Terry. Look forward to talking with you again. Thank you for all that you guys do, and we're looking to partner with you to help your student athletes achieve that dream of participating in the sport that they love while pursuing a degree at one of our colleges and universities.
Real quick, I'm gonna embarrass Glenn really quickly before he leaves. NCAA administrator, he's a big shot, but he's also a Big Ten hurdle champion and one of the amazing hurdler. So
long time ago, retired, long time ago. So I thank you so much.
Yeah, take care, Glenn.
All right, thank you. Have a great one.
Yeah.